Thanks for joining us on the program, everyone. The Senate has now confirmed General Christopher Musa as Nigeria's new Minister of Defense. And it wasn't a quiet confirmation at all. It came with torrential questions, bipartisan commendations, and what many are now calling one of the strongest displays of goodwill shown to any defense nominee in recent years. Across the country, on social media, within the security community, and now firmly on the Senate floor, one message is consistent. Nigerians expect General Musa to deliver, and they expect him to deliver fast.
Don't take it that we are not happy. We are all happy. We applaud, Mr. President, for your nomination. We have a lot of hope in you based on your track record. But a few questions are begging for answers. The Senate has just set up a committee to find out from the cry of the governor of Kebbi, who gave the order for the soldiers who had prior information that kidnappers were coming to the school. Is it St. Mary's School or where?
So starting with the issues of General Uba, very unfortunate for a brigade commander to be captured and shown the way they did. It's really unfortunate and it's very painful. I want to assure Nigerians that we will not stand by and see terrorists have the capacity to do such. We're going to go after them fully, working together with all the security agencies and all the NDAs that I've said. We're going to investigate fully. So I know the Senate has established a committee to look into that. The armed forces also has a way. And then from the defense, we're going to make sure that we continue with the oversight over their activities. No indolence, no act of cowardice will be entertained. We're going to make sure that we follow them critically to see what they are doing from the commanders down to the troops.
Well, no questions were spared, and he answered confidently. But with overwhelming praise comes overwhelming pressure. Pressure to reverse a worsening kidnap crisis, pressure to dismantle the bandit economy that keeps expanding, and also the pressure to confront the political, operational, and intelligence failures that many insiders quietly admit are now suffocating the war effort. Tonight on Beyond the Headlines, we are picking up from where we stopped last night. Despite the poor network connection, our guest dropped some of the most explosive claims we've had on this show following this story. It did say that toxic interference of the political class is sabotaging military operations, and also warned that logistics required to fight insurgents are being manipulated. If you saw the show yesterday, he revealed that sympathy for fighters among state actors is weakening the war effort, and he also insisted that in 2025, Nigeria's soldiers are still being made to fight blind in an era of advanced surveillance technology. Those are not small accusations. They go to the heart of why kidnappers are getting bolder and why terror economies continue to expand. So tonight we'll pick up from exactly where we were cut off because of the network. We intend to get some more clarity. Joining me is Air Vice Marshal Morgan, retired, is a veteran Air Force fighter pilot and a fighter instructor, and Air Officer commanding Logistics Command and Commandant of Armed Forces Resettlement Center before he was appointed the Chief of Defense Intelligence by former President Buhari. Thank you so much for joining us again on the program this evening. General Musa received overwhelming goodwill today at the Senate, and there were questions for him right, left, and center. I'm sure you saw it, just as we've heard from security analysts and from Nigerians online. What does this level of support mean for him now as he resumes office?
Thank you for inviting me once again for setting. Thank you very much for inviting me for setting clarifications of the botched interview by some technical problems yesterday. I want to applaud the President for appointing this great officer at this moment of our history. General Chris Musa is one of the topmost generals in the armed forces of Nigeria. If you look at his career progression, he has been at the top of all commands relevant for a fighting force before he became the Chief of Defense Intelligence. And at this critical point, where hope completely was lost on Nigeria because of the menace of the insurgents, it became very important that if there is a gap for the Ministry of Defense to be filled up, then a crack military officer should be the choice. And I think the president did a great job there.
Absolutely.
One of the things, yes. One of the things I like to say here is that it is an arduous task for ahead of Chris Musa, because he has the responsibility to collaborate with all security agencies in Nigeria to ensure there's a complete overhaul of the security architecture of the country. The way the soldiers are fighting, the tools that are available for them, are there obviously modern? Are there primitive equipment? Because the insurgents have funding, and their funders are solid. So when we see the pictures of the kind of weaponry that is at their disposal, it means the new Minister of Defense must go holistically to do a very thorough overhaul of our equipment holding in the armed forces.
Indeed, Vice Marshal, and we're going to get there shortly to explore what he must do differently. But it also seems that he's under enormous pressure to deliver when you follow closely feedback from Nigerians and the outpouring of commendation at the Senate today. From your experience at the top of the defense structure, does strong political goodwill necessarily translate into operational freedom, or does it sometimes bring unrealistic expectations?
I think now that a thorough military bread is in charge, we expect that everybody will fall into line. For example, in a plural, multicultural country like Nigeria, the armed forces' attention to religion must be seriously professional, neutral, and inclusive posture. Because a soldier must guide his religion personally and do not want to operate it outwardly. The fighting man sees national security as the uppermost, just to uppermost in mind. Because what I am saying today, religious considerations have permeated into the armed forces. We, in our time, there was no distinction between Christians and Muslims when you come into a unit. But today, those indicators are very, very clear to see. And I think the military hierarchy must do something about that. The country first. That is one of the areas that he must look into. Secondly, there must be a complete overhaul of equipment holding, because the time to fight blind is over. Technology has overturned a lot of things in modern warfare. And if you don't apply technology, we'll keep on having a primitive approach to military operation. And this is where Musa must work very hard with the service chiefs and ensure that they confront the president with these realities on ground. And I'm sure what the president has done lately that has added to the confidence that he is giving to us as citizens is the one, recently he has also established the formation of a forest guard, which is an addendum to the national security architecture. And the way and manner that forest guard is created in this foundation and the application of tools that it's going to use will also complement the new approach to national security fighting. So I think essentially the president has shown us that we are people to listen to. He is becoming a welcoming trend that national security has been put on high alert, and I think collaboration is going to continue, and I foresee a great change in the fight against insecurity.
Many Nigerians are counting on that. We heard General Musa today emphasizing the urgent need for a unified and comprehensive database that makes it difficult for anyone to commit a crime and go scot-free. It begs the question of how did this elude us for so many years? Why has Nigeria failed for decades to harmonize the NIN, the BVN, the SIM registration, immigration data, all of this scattered data, and put it together such that we can identify who is who, especially with concerns about the integrity of those even joining the Nigerian army. He also said that he said no to negotiations with bandits and mentioned the need for sub-regional government to disengage from such approach. Do you think he has the powers now to engage governors at that level?
Can you repeat that question clearly?
I'm talking about his position on saying no to negotiations with bandits and asking sub-regional governments to disengage from such approach. I'm asking if you think he has the leverage to engage governors on how to act now.
Yes. I think one of the biggest problems that we have, and I have said it down with a number, that the sub-regional governors don't see insurgency as a serious issue. If not, you cannot be thinking about going into any form of negotiation with insurgents. I told you yesterday that we fought in ECOMOG, in Sierra Leone and Liberia. And that fight was a very difficult fight. The armed forces of Nigeria fought those wars without political interference, no consideration. We had a strategic directive: capture the insurgents, clean up the mess in Liberia and Sierra Leone, and we did it. Now we are back into our country, and the toxic interferences of the politicians will remain a clog in the wheel of progress of the military operations. So for me, I believe that a soldier is a sacrificial lamb, and he is to protect the nation, the national, the territorial integrity. If my own brother, the same mother and father, decide to point a gun against the state, he becomes an enemy to the state, and my business is to take him out. So we have to go in that line. There is no insurgent that is our brother. As long as he has taken the line of to be a rebellious subject, he must be taken out. And that is the position. And I think I encourage the new minister and all members of the armed forces to distance themselves from political interference, and let's forge ahead and quickly get this mess out of the place.
You continue to identify what you call toxic political interference as the biggest clog in the fight against insurgency. Beyond your words of appeal, what must we do differently? Do you think merely appointing a former CDS as Minister of Defense is going to change that reality?
Yes, first of all, we are in the process of a formation of forest guard. We are also in the system where the president has given a directive for more manpower into the armed forces. So we are going to change our profiling style. A soldier first is loyal to the state and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. In the profiling system, no politician should influence recruitment. The military has a standard, and they must conform to those standards. If you think you can join the military and come and say, want to propagate one form of radical belief, you are found, the military must take you out of the place, because, and then finally, all the repentant insurgents that were brought into the armed forces, they have to re-profiled to see the new status they have attained in the armed forces. We cannot continue to operate with them. And those are the challenges that are before the new Minister of Defense.
The perception that some state actors show sympathy for fighters is widely published and widely talked about. What does this really mean in actual practice, and how widespread do you think the problem is?
It's huge, because I have seen videos of insurgents carrying weapons all over the place, going to meetings, and giving even instructions that they do not want to see the police, they don't want to see the military in such meetings. I think my recommendation is that if any state behaves that way, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces has a right to declare a state of emergency in that state, because it shows indications that the state is now under the control of insurgents. And we cannot accept that kind of thing.
I hear you clearly. You are former Chief of Defense Intelligence, and our defense intelligence structure has been criticized as outdated and overly centralized. What's your perception of the current status, and how is it affecting our fight against insurgency and terrorism?
There is no system that remains using the same platform over and over again. I want to tell you that if Nigeria wants an effective intelligence gathering tool, they must spend the money. We are not a producing country. We buy equipment from the shelves, from technologically advanced countries. I'm sure the current Chief of Defense Intelligence is a very solid officer. He's well tutored in the lines of intelligence gathering, and he knows his onions. What I just want to suggest is that the president should look into the platforms of intelligence gathering tools, re-equip, re-modernize the DIA, re-equip and modernize the DSS, and including the NIA and the police. And then, of course, there's a need. Technology does not give you all the results. The human intelligence is the final goal to analyze data collected. So there must be an expanded population in the intelligence chain, and well-trained personnel and properly deployed nationally in Nigeria. These are the suggestions.
You also said that President Tinubu should give General Musa marching orders to restructure the armed forces. What specific structural reforms should happen first?
First of all, there is no armed forces that can fight separately and win any battle. The principle of joint warfare must be strictly adhered to. That what I mean here is this, there must be a central fighting force. The Chief of Defense Staff must create a fighting war force. So what that means is that in any kind of training they are doing, the Air Force, the Navy and Air Force have detachment of personnel and given to a force commander for particular operation, which means all the facilities of war that are given to that tactical commander are completely in his hand for control, for operational directions and tactical deployments. A situation where we have operations in the Northeast under a theater commander, and he is going for an attack and he does not have air cover, or the Air Force is commanding the pilots of that operation, is an aberration. The principle of jointness must be something that they must adhere to. We must train together, we must practice together, and we must fight together. And you also know that currently the members of the armed forces, especially the officer corps, we have a very professional military personnel, highly intelligent, and people that the human resources in the armed forces is huge. We only have to buy equipment for them to operate. And following extant laws of operation.
Air Vice Marshal, we have to go now, but if you were advising General Musa tonight, because Nigerians have a lot of expectations of him, what is that one warning you would give him before he resumes office?
He understands exactly what he should do. He's a general, and he knows that any fighting force that has no discipline will fail. He must have eye on probity. The armed forces is not set up for people to become rich. If you are a soldier, you are a sacrificial lamb, and that is why the soldier must have a special a placement in his country. That is why soldiers' welfare mustn't be wasted away. He must ensure that there is high morale of the armed forces. No soldier's welfare, allowances can be taken by any operational commander. And anybody that does that must be punished. There must be probity, accountability in this kind of operation. A military officer is a servant of the state, and that is why he signed for 35 years, after which the state will take care of him. We are not to make money. We are just to be comfortable and fight and protect the nation.
Good place to leave it. Nigerians are expectant. I know that we also have to guard our expectation and give the man some time to work. But he has the goodwill of Nigerians, and we're hoping to see the changes very soon. Air Vice Marshal Monday Rico Morgan, retired as former Chief of Defense Intelligence, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
That's our show today, everyone. Remember, you can watch it again at midnight and 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.